TechNet Saturday at 7 p.m. W5FC. This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
I will be starting Skynet here in about 3 minutes. This is N5BB. End user Peter, please go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
This is Bill, N5BB. I'll be your net control for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning a subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the ProSign break mic in your This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from your net control. November 5, Bravo, Bravo. And stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. And I am logged into Echolink, and I can see that Bob the Cat is keeping Chaz well under control. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This is N5BB, Skynet. The net is 90 minutes long, structured in several parts: general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society, discussion topic of the evening by the net control, What's up? Like, what do you see when you look up? Space exploration and space history. The constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passengers over the next couple of days, astronomical questions and answers, and 73, which means goodbye. All emitters invited, start over. All emitters licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now let's start with short-time check-ins. If you can't stay here very long, please check in now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is N5BB, Skynet, short-time check-ins.
This is November 8, Whiskey Romeo, N8 WWR, Romy, mobile, short-time, and grapevine. Thanks for running the net there.
I have N8 WWR. Hello, Romy. Do we have any other short-time check-ins? Okay, we're going to leave Echolink for last. So the next round here is going to be general RF check-ins. If you'd like to check into Skynet, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is N5BB, Skynet, general check-ins.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, and Bob the Cat.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwell, AG 5 p.m.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richards.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Branch.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
This is Whiskey Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Okay, let's pause there. I recognize KF5JHA, Chaz, with Bob the Cat on the side. AG5PM, Rich. AA5AH, Robert. KF5ZBL, Bill. K5ICX, Tom. WB5OZL, Brenda. And Cody, I'm sorry. I know you are, but I screwed up writing your call sign down. Give me the whole call sign again, Cody.
Sure thing, Bill. Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, K5 McD.
Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta. I totally messed up as I was writing it down. Thank you, Cody. WB4 MFI. Hello, Ted. ND5F. Hi, Virginia. W5GUS. Gus. And K5GLD. Randy. Welcome to all. Do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet? If so, please come down.
Golf Niner Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas, AG9SG.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay of the Butte.
Okay. That round I got AG9SG, Antonio, and N50F, Clay. Do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB, Nick Control. Nothing heard. There will be time for additional check-ins later. On Echo Link, I see another station I'm not familiar with. Robert, AI5QE. That's Alpha India 5 Quebec Echo. Robert, would you like a check-in on voice? If not, then please tell us on text where you're located. Very good there. We have you, Robert. So Robert is currently AI5QE, and he's in Miami Beach, Florida. And his old call was KJ5EU. Welcome to Robert, even though you've fled to Miami Beach. Okay, do we have any other check-ins via any mode to Skynet? This is N5BB, net control. Oh, correction. The AI5QE was KJ5EUV. I think I recognize that call. Very good there, Robert. Again, one last try. Any other check-ins to Skynet before we start? This was the main topics. This is N5BB, looking for check-ins to Skynet. Okay, now let's talk about general announcements. Does anybody have any announcements for the net? If so, please come with your call sign only. Nothing heard. I've got so many different news items tonight that I decided to throw one in here in announcements. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope pauses science due to a gyro issue. We've heard this before. On April 23rd of this year, NASA is working to resume the science operations of the agency's Hubble Space Telescope after it entered safe mode due to an ongoing gyroscopic issues, so problems with gyroscopes. But a week later, on April the 30th, NASA announced it restored the Hubble Space Telescope to science operations on April the 29th. The spacecraft is in good health and once again operating using all three of its gyros. All of Hubble's instruments are online, and the spacecraft has resumed taking science observations. I just have a comment that about the only moving parts, continuously moving parts on spacecraft are gyroscopes that help them determine their orientation and also help them rotate. And unfortunately, they wear out. No matter how good they try to make the bearings, there's things in them that eventually wear out. So that's the reason that telescopes that have been up, spacecraft that have been up a very long time, like the Hubble Space Telescope, that need to be able to point very, very accurately. The gyroscopes going out is a big problem. It's threatened to make Hubble fail in the past. Anyway, I'm glad the All Satellite Group has a net on Tuesday evenings on this repeater, 146.88, and that's at 8 p.m. The only Tuesday when this net is not inactive is the first Tuesday of the month, because that's when the Dallas Amateur Radio Club is meeting at the same time. So, again, Tuesday evening, 8 p.m., most evenings, we'll hear the AMSAT net. You can talk about other satellites also on that net. Then on Wednesday evening, every week on Wednesday evening at 9 p.m., there's a similar AMSAT net on the Arlington 147.14 megahertz repeater. It also has a 110.9 PL tone and a positive offset. Then there's on this repeater, the 146.88 repeater. Let me go through them quickly. On Mondays at 7 p.m., there's something going on every Monday evening. The first week of the month, there's Ham Fixings Net about cooking. Second week of the month, Emergency Communications Net. The third week of the month, another Ham Fixings Net about cooking. The fourth Monday evening of the month, the Geek Net. All kinds of geeky stuff. And if there is a fifth Monday, there isn't always, but there are a few months in the year with 5 Mondays. It's a surprise net. If we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. So that's Monday evenings at 7 p.m. on this repeater. Tuesday evenings, as I mentioned earlier, at 8 p.m., we have the AMSAT net. On Friday evenings of every week, there's the CERT City Simulation Net at 8 p.m. Here you can learn about emergency radio communications via CERT, trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KF5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. All are welcome. Then on Saturday night at 7 p.m., we have TechNet at 7 to 8 p.m., which discusses all kinds of technical things. Of course, you can ask a software question, but it's things involving something about amateur radio, crudely at least about amateur radio, that you want to have answered. You might ask about operating procedures on net, or contest operation, or antennas, anything technical or operating that you can ask on TechNet. 7 p.m. on Saturdays. And then at 9 p.m. on Saturdays, you have this net, Skynet, that goes from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. On Saturday night after this net, we have the Afterglow movie net, starting at 10:30 p.m. And it goes to about midnight, depending on when we get too tired. On the first and third Sundays of the month, there's also a Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. This is at 7 p.m., the first and third Sundays of the month. After that net, at 8 p.m. on the first and third Sundays, there is the Dallas County, the City of Dallas, and Dallas County Races training on the first and third Sunday evenings. That's at 8 p.m. Then daily, we have the ARL National Traffic System Training Net at 6:30 p.m. on this repeater. And at 9:30 p.m. on the Irving 146.72 megahertz repeater, we have the Lake Traffic Net. All are welcome to check in on any of these nets, but please listen and only check in at the appropriate time. This is N5BB, Skynet. Do we have any late check-ins?
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, W5BLT, Bill Garland.
W5BLT. Hello, Bill. Okay, tonight's Afterglow net is Jupiter 2032. Tom, will you tell us something about this completely wild movie? K5ICX and 5BB.
Why, thank you, Bill, and I'll be happy to do this. This is KE5ICX. Here's my highly accurate synopsis of tonight called Jupiter 2032. Jupiter was a pretty quiet planet for millions of years, but it wouldn't remain that way forever. Being a gas giant meant it didn't get the recognition it deserved as a real, strong and dense celestial body. Sure, Venus was romantic, and Earth, the big blue beauty the rest of the solar system admired. Everyone considered her as a beauty, too. But with that red eye, as Neptune called it, pink eye, no one gave it much love. But soon that would change, and people took note. So much so, they decided to do a documentary on the emerging musical talent. Join us for what's really a weird documentary. No, it's not a comedy. Called Jupiter 2032 tonight at 10:30 p.m. Last year. It's one of the more different films we've watched. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. I tried watching the first couple of minutes and decided the whole premise was not for me. And I was too busy doing other things, so I didn't see it. And I'm happy I didn't see it. But anyway, next, we have Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Chaz, tell us what's going on with the TAS. KF5JHA with Bill the Cat assisting. This is N5BB. Excuse me, Bob the Cat. Bob the Cat. Excuse me, Chaz. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bill, you and Bob look really close together, so okay, yeah, I'm just kidding. Slide Master, slide number 1, please. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, May the 24th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also will be held on Zoom. The featured speaker is going to be Vicki Dirksen from the Dark Skies Discovery Center, And also, Chuck Allen from the Astronomical League will also be giving a brief presentation as well. Now, Saturday night public observing stations continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing stations. As we've had in the last, I think, 2 months, we've got cloudy skies. On the first Saturday of the month, the stargazing would have been held at Fairview, but again, it's canceled due to the clouds and actually rain in the area. So, you can check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about the meetings and public observing stations. This is KF5JHA, back to N5BB.
Very good, Chaz. Are there any questions, comments, or late check-ins? This is N5BB. Skynet. Okay, thank you, Chaz. Excuse me, I'm trying to finish my snack. It's hard being net control. Sometimes you just gotta have a snack to get a little more energy. Okay. Next, we have the National Space Society events. This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. And this is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. National Space Society is a nonprofit group that's interested in human activities in space. I happen to be the membership director and member at large of the North Texas chapter of National Space Society, which is extremely active. National Space Society for members has a space forum where they have interesting topics they discuss with a Zoom call. The Space Forum, the discussion by Emory-Riddle students of the Eagle Cam, which was designed to photograph the landing of the Nova C Odysseus lander on the moon on February 22nd of this year. However, the Intuitive Machines Odysseus lander had difficulties. It essentially skidded in, and the Eagle Cam was not activated when it was originally planned. But it did transfer data via Wi-Fi on the moon. The moon surface, I believe it was the first device that did a Wi-Fi data transfer. So the Eagle Cam was a small little module that was going to be ejected from the Odysseus lander as it was coming in, and it was going to essentially settle on the moon before the lander actually landed, and it was going to take a picture of it coming in. But that did not work. And it did not work for some crazy reasons. First, the Intuitive Machines made a very big blunder. Space is hard, by the way. Did anybody tell you that? Space flight is very hard. There was a laser rangefinder that they were going to use that would measure their distance above the surface of the moon as they landed. However, when they were testing it on the way to the moon, they discovered that it wasn't working, and they pretty much decided that somebody had left a safety cover on the device because it's dangerous to the human eye, and they forgot to take it off. Remember all these little tags you see, remove before flight? Well, they forgot to remove it before flight. So because that would not work, they then decided to try using another instrument from NASA that was on there that was a different kind of a Ranger distance finding machine. And they got their software kind of going with it. But they were so worried about how all that was working, they decided to forget about the this little Eagle Cam thing. And then there were other problems as when they were landing with that other rangefinder. It got confused, and they essentially came in hard sliding. They were kind of sliding in. Rather than coming down vertical, they were coming in moving horizontally also. And so the landing gear broke. It tipped over, and just various things were tested on that, including some of the payloads, but the actually main mission didn't work right because of all those problems. Most of these were because of somebody not removing a safety cover. Anyway, that's what happens with spacecraft. This is N5BB. So that was on May the 2nd, that forum. The National Space Society local North Texas chapter, we participated in the STEM Festival at Harmony Elementary Science Academy. This is an elementary school science academy in Garland today. And it was great fun. Lots of kids there interested in space. Coming up on Sunday afternoon, May the 12th, this is not tomorrow, but it's a week later, May the 12th, the National Space Society, the North Texas chapter monthly meeting will be held at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. This is held on the southwest corner of Highway 183 in Beltline, starting at 3:30 p.m. Sunday afternoon. This will be a virtual program, so we'll be projecting there from a computer. The presenter will be Dr. Pascal Lee. It's the second presentation he's given to our group about Mars exploration. Dr. Pascal Lee is very well known. He's got a Wikipedia page. You've got to be well known to get a Wikipedia page. He's the chairman of the Mars Institute and the co-founder. He's a planetary science at the SETI Institute, and he's the principal investigator of the Halton Mars Project at the NASA Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California. They have a test location up in Canada on a island that's a desert island where it just looks very similar to Mars or the Moon. There's nothing growing up on it. So they do a lot of tests of, it's a Mars and Moon analog. National Space Society of North Texas website is ntx.nss.org. That's NTX, abbreviation for North Texas, .nss.org. The group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and look for it. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, you can reach me, N5BB at ARRL.net, or you can reach me at space at Byrom.net, SPACE at BYROM.net. This is N5BB, Skynet. I've also got some spacecraft news. I'm going to try to keep these pretty short because I got so many things to talk about, so I'm going to try to keep each of the things short. China just launched a spacecraft to the far side of the moon, their second one. I'm reading from the New York Times article on May the 3rd. If successful, the Chang'e 6 mission will be the first in history to return a sample from a part of the moon that we never get to see from the Earth. On Friday, that's right, yesterday, China launched a second lander to the lunar far side. The mission is called... it's pronounced Chang'e. Chang'e. So Chang'e 6. And let's see. It was launched on a Long March 5 rocket. About 32 minutes after the launch, the spacecraft separated from the rocket, and the mission proceeded on a 5-day journey to the moon. This is N5BB, Skynet. Like Earth, where there's erosion and shifting crust, constantly renewing the surface, as well as, of course, life that does things to the surface, like trees and growing grasses and everything else. The moon remains frozen in time. By studying samples from different parts of the lunar surface, scientists seek information about the origin and evolution of Earth's satellite. So far, the U.S., the former Soviet Union, and China have gathered samples only from the near side of the moon, the side that we can see when we look up at night. The far side of the moon, it's not actually the dark side, it's the far side, is distinct from the near side. It has a thicker crust, more craters, and fewer maria, or plains, where lava once flowed. But no one really knows exactly why the two sides of the moon are so dramatically different. So that's what they're trying to do, to figure that out. I have another news item I'm going to try to go through quickly, but this is a pretty interesting item. This is N5BB, Skynet. It's in new phase. NASA has an Innovative Advanced Concepts Program, NIAC. It's now on phase 2. It's selected 6 visionary concept studies for additional funding and development. So this is all long-term kind of development money, just investigating different topics. Each study has already completed the initial phase, showing their futuristic ideas may provide fresh perspectives and approaches as NASA approaches the unknown in space. So if you listen to these are pretty wild. Okay, let me go here. Here we go. The pulsed plasma rocket to do a fast transit to Mars. Power generator. This would use a radioisotope like plutonium, and it would be actually radiating infrared energy out into space. And that things like thermocouple generate power. But it's a new design for all that. It's generating a lot more power than current radioisotopes today. So they got permanent magnets that levitate over a 3-layer flexible film track. A graphite layer enables robots to passively float over tracks using diamagnetic levitation. A flex circuit layer generates electromagnetic thrust to controllably propel robots along the tracks. An optional thin film solar panel layer generates power for the base when in sunlight. So a little lunar railroad system. And then the last one is the science craft for outer planet exploration. This integrates a science experiment and spacecraft into one monolithic and lightweight structure. They print ultra-lightweight quantum dot-based spectrometers directly on the solar sail. So this allows them to move using the solar sail to outer planets, and they can collect data using little things printed on the solar sail. So, anyway, they propose a mission to Triton in a short window that closes around 2045. So this is long-term things. This is N5BB Skynet. Do we have any other check-ins? Oh no, static. Tom, K5GH, excuse me, K5ICX. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Bill, you had mostly static for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then it cleared right up. You sound fine now, so I'm not sure what happened. KE5ICX.
I just realized I forgot to turn on the auxiliary fan on my radio. So it might have overheated. It feels very warm. If I got the fan on, maybe it'll cool down. It's also like
Jay, I hear you over echoing, but you're not coming through on RF. And my signal sounds like it's a problem too. Sounds like it might be a repeater problem.
Get noise in the repeater inside the
F5,
This is KE5KDL, KE5KDO.
This is N5BB. We're having trouble with the repeater. I'm sorry. I think we're going to have to stop Skynet for now. N5BB. We'll try and see here. This is N5BB. I think I'm working now. Tom, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Bill, you're sounding fine now, but for how long, I don't know. That if you want to continue, try, and then I'll keep an eye on Echolink. I'll let you know if it fails.
Okay, very good, Tom. I hung up on the phone. We'll do that. I'm sorry, this is N5BB. We're thinking it might be water in the coax and the repeater going to a high SWR mode. I'm going to try taking a lot of breaks. The station that was calling, were you trying to check into Skynet? I missed the call sign. This is N5BB, net control. I guess not. This is N5BB, Skynet. I'll try some short transmissions and we'll see if we can get through here. I can hear myself on Echolink, but there's an echo, so it's kind of hard for me to do this. Anyway, the May 1st report by NASA's Office of Inspector General reviewed problems with the Orion spacecraft. This is the capsule that NASA is going to use to go back to the moon, as well as ground equipment and the Deep Space Network. This was all discovered during the uncrewed Artemis 1 mission launched in late 2022. But they've just released, this last Wednesday, May the 1st, their big report on this publicly. One of the biggest issues was with the Orion heat shield. Most of the ablative heat shield material had been lost during re-entry. More of it, the heat shield had been lost during re-entry than expected. But it didn't pose a safety risk for the spacecraft. But NASA is still examining what happened to the heat shield. And that's one of the reasons that in January they delayed the Artemis 2 mission from late 2024 to no earlier than September of 2025. According to the Inspector General report, NASA found more than 100 locations on the heat shield where material chipped away unexpectedly during the Artemis 1 re-entry. The report included images showing pockmarked portions of the heat shield. The heat shield material, known as opcoat, wore away differently than NASA engineers predicted, cracking and breaking off the spacecraft in fragments that create a trail of debris rather than melting away as designed. The unexpected behavior of this opcoat creates a risk the heat shield may not sufficiently protect the capsule's systems and crew from the extreme heat of re-entry on future missions. This is N5BB, Skynet. Heat shield material. This heat shield performance, the top risk for the Artemis 2 mission to the moon. By the way, during the Artemis 2 mission, NASA plans to launch astronauts in that same capsule and go around the moon, come back to the moon, to the Earth, without landing on the moon. But of course, it's got to land on the Earth, and that's why the heat shield is so critical. So NASA expects to have a response to this report by about June the 30th of this year. In addition to the heat shield loss, the report said that 3 of 4 separation bolts on the base of the heat shield used to separate the service module before re-entry experienced unexpected melting and erosion that post-flight analysis blamed on a thermal model discrepancy. This is N5BB, Skynet. NASA plans to redesign the separation bolt on later Orion spacecraft, but for Artemis 2 will install additional thermal protection material in the bolt gaps. The work for Artemis 2 can't be completed until NASA finalizes its work on the overall heat shield. There were other issues in the report also. Issues with the power distribution unit on the service module, where latching current limited opening without being commanded to do so, which NASA blamed on radiation exposure and addressed with changes to flight software and operations procedures. A problem with the Deep Space Network station in California, caused a 4.5-hour loss of communications with Orion during the Artemis 1 mission, which the report linked to broader issues with the network, the Deep Space Network, and that's not good. The report also highlights previously documented damage to the mobile launch tower, due in part to low-frequency acoustics that were not accurately modeled before the launch. Elevators were damaged because blast doors intended to protect them turned out to be fiberglass doors designed only to shield from the wind. Repairs to the mobile launcher cost $26 million, more than 5 times the $5 million NASA had planned for post-launch refurbishment. The report provided 6 recommendations for addressing the issues found during the Artemis 1 mission. Okay, so lots of big issues there with the Inspector General report with the Artemis 1 mission. This is in 5BB. So, an overview again of the Artemis project going back to the moon. Artemis 1 flew in late 2022, and it was unmanned, but it was the real capsule. It went around the moon, came back, and landed on the Earth and the ocean automatically. Artemis 2 has been delayed. It's going to have only humans. It's going to have humans, but it's not going to land on the moon. It's going to go around the moon and come back. And currently, it was supposed to originally launch late this year. Currently, it's going to launch no earlier than September of next year. And it's going to launch 4 astronauts on this free return trajectory. That means that once it's going toward the moon, it'll go around the moon and come back to the Earth without having to fire any more rockets, essentially. Anyway, I'm not going to go on and describe Artemis 2, but that's the project there. Artemis 3 mission has humans landing on the moon. And the date of this is a little open to change. It's currently planned for 2026, but some people believe that's impossible. It'll take longer. The current plan is for NASA to launch on a Space Launch System, an SLS rocket, the Orion capsule with humans in it. It will be launched toward the moon, and in lunar orbit, it will rendezvous with a SpaceX Starship upper stage. So the whole project is to, SpaceX would launch fuel up into Earth orbit. That would then launch the whole super heavy SpaceX Starship from Earth orbit toward the moon. In moon orbit, the upper part would separate. The NASA astronauts would move from the Orion capsule into the Starship upper stage, and that Starship upper stage would then land on the moon. It would later then take off from the moon with the astronauts. Those would be the first humans on the moon since the early 1970s. And it would come back to the Earth, and the Orion capsule would then land in the ocean. But it's kind of an interesting, the Orion capsule, they would, when they took off from the moon, they would reconnect with the Orion capsule in Earth orbit, and the Orion capsule would then come back to the Earth. So the humans would be flying from the Earth to the moon and back in the Orion capsule, but they would actually land on the moon using the Starship upper stage. It's a rather complex situation. This is N5BB, Skynet in progress. So, in addition, related to that, and I'll continue pretty quickly here, the NASA, recently, like late April, they finished discussing how SpaceX is going to be able to fuel up their super heavy in Earth orbit in the Starship. So what they're going to do is they're going to link two starships in orbit for an ambitious refueling demonstration. So again, the whole plan is to launch fuel into space on these super heavy starships, and then they would have a depot in around the Earth, essentially, where they get enough propellants so they could fuel a starship that would then go to the moon. And so they're planning on doing a test which involves two starships belly to belly, where they would transfer propellant from one to the other. They tested a little bit of that on the last Starship test, a suborbital test, when they moved fuel between two, I think it was oxygen, but they moved it between two internal tanks. But the test they're planning now is going to test two different starships, moving fuel between one and the other. And there's a lot that can go wrong, but they're working on the plans for doing all of this, and they're currently, again, targeting for 2026 for the first landing on the moon, but it's going to be really hard to do all these things before then. This is N5BB, Skynet. I have one more day on a large cargo landers for the Artemis moon missions. So NASA wants various companies, mainly SpaceX and Blue Origin right now, they're developing lunar landers for large cargo deliveries to support our activities on the moon. So both companies are developing these unmanned landers, and the cargo variants are expected to land 26,000 to 33,000 pounds. That's 12 to 15 metric tons of payload on the lunar surface, and be in service no later than the Artemis 7 mission, which is obviously a few years out. And they expected these cargo landers to be modified versions of the human landing systems currently developed. So they're working for Artemis 3, 4, and 5 on both SpaceX and Blue Origin, and I think maybe also Intuitive Machines to develop human landers. The whole idea is to have multiple companies working on systems to get both cargo and humans to the moon. Okay, that's all I got. This is N5BB, Skynet. Do we have any additional check-ins? Tom, K5ICX. This is N5BB. Could you hear me okay that time?
Yeah, Bill, there was no problem, no static, so it's corrected itself for now, unless it heard this flash transmission and decides to mess up again. But no, it was fine and clear, KE5ICX.
Okay, it must have been a repeater problem since nobody could get in for a while. Okay, this is N5BB, Skynet. Again, any additional check-ins or comments?
N5SQA in for the count.
E5QE, just checking to see if my audio works on Echolink.
Yes, Robert, AI5QE, we have you. And N5SQA, we have you. In for the count. Not down for the count, but in for the count, Ron. We got you. Anybody else want to check into Skynet? This is N5BB net control.
Kilo, Golf 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo. Jacob, L.
EG5 UFR. Okay, Jacob. I heard some more scratching there, so I hope the repeater doesn't get bad again. There's an awful lot of lightning here. I can hear in Irving. Whoop. I think I just had a power failure, but I've got my solar system is a battery backup system, so I think it just switched over. Okay, Chaz, if you have power, how about what's up, Chaz, in 5BB, Skynet?
Well, let's see if what's up works. I'm going to monitor myself over on Echolink at the same time. Just to let you know, since we're getting late on the net, I'm going to say let's postpone the constellation of the week until next time. But let me go ahead and do what's up right now. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Slide master, slide number 3, please. On May the 1st, the moon was at its third quarter phase, so the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. On May the 5th, the moon is at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 363,163 kilometers. On May the 7th, the moon is new. On May the 15th, the first quarter moon. On May the 17th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,640 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 4. This morning, if it had been clear, on May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day, we haven't mentioned that yet, the moon, Neptune, Mars, and Saturn were in conjunction in the eastern morning sky, spread out over about a 14-degree area. Slide master, slide number 5. On the night of May the 5th to 6th, which is Sunday into Monday, the peak of the Eta Aquariid meteor shower with a maximum of up to 55 meteors per hour will happen. This is one of the major meteor showers during the year. It is famous for being the result of debris left behind by Comet Halley. On the night of May the 8th and 9th, the Eta Lyrid meteor shower reaches its maximum with only around, maybe a handful of meteors per hour. It is associated with debris left behind by C-1983H1 comet, also known as Iris-Araki-Alcock. For more information about meteors and meteor showers, you can visit the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide master, slide number 6. On May the 6th, the moon and Mercury are in conjunction in the eastern morning sky. Slide master, slide number 7. On May the 7th, the moon and Venus are in conjunction in the eastern morning sky and very strong twilight. This would be considered a very old moon because it's just a few hours away from the moon becoming a new moon. And slide master, slide number 8, just about 36 hours later, on May the 8th, the moon and the Pleiades are in conjunction in the western evening sky with very strong twilight. This would be considered a very young moon since it's only hours after it became a new moon. Slide master, slide number 9, please. On May the 11th, the moon and the minor planet Vesta are in conjunction in the west-northwestern evening sky. And slide master, slide number 10, on May the 12th, the moon and Pollux are in conjunction in the west-northwestern evening sky. Pollux is one of the 2 bright stars in the constellation of Gemini. And slide master, slide number 11, on May the 13th, the moon and M44, also known as the Beehive cluster, are in conjunction in the western evening sky. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 12. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or you just have a general astronomy question, come now with your call sign if you need a fill or have a question. Oh, wow, we now have another Robert on Echolink. Robert, AI5QE. You had a question about Earth, Moon, Earth transmissions, and I don't know a URL that you could go to, but maybe Bill might have that. All right, Slide Master, slide number 13. So does the moon wane, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where the humans live, and until next time, we'll just keep on looking up so you know what's up. And once again, Bill, let's postpone Constellation of the Week until next week. This is KF5JJ, back to our net control.
Okay, thank you, Chaz. This is N5BB. Yes, AI5QE, Robert posted on Echolink the URL, the best one to teach you how to do Earth-Moon, Earth communication. To my knowledge, nobody listening right now does that. So let me ask the question this is really something for TechNet. Ask the people on the net here. Does anybody on the net operate Earth-Moon, Earth communication and can provide some directions to the best sources of information about that topic? If you can help with Earth-Moon, Earth, I can look it up on the internet, and of course ARL has books they publish about it. But if anybody has any direct knowledge they want to give us, please come now with your call sign only about EME. Nothing heard. Robert, I believe you'll find some ARL publications, American Radio Relay publications, that can help with that, but I don't have access to them where I'm sitting right now. But you might want to look up the North Texas Microwave Society. I hope you're listening, Robert. North Texas Microwave Society. Do a web search for them. And if you can contact people with the North Texas Microwave Society, some of the people in that group I know have done Earth-Moon, Earth communication in the past. North Texas Microwave Society. You also asked about satellite communication. As I mentioned earlier in the net, you need to listen to the AMSAT net, the Amateur Satellite Group net, on this repeater on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Except not this coming Tuesday because it's a club meeting, but all other Tuesdays at 7 p.m. check into that net on this repeater and you can talk about satellites. You can also, if you're anywhere near Fort Worth or Tarrant County, you can check into the Arlington repeater on 9 p.m., the 147.14 megahertz Arlington repeater, 9 p.m. on Wednesday evenings for the AMSAT net. So the AMSAT net is 8 o'clock in the evening on Tuesdays, except for the first Tuesday of the month, and 9 o'clock on Wednesday evenings on the 147.14 megahertz repeater. I hope that helps. Okay, do we have any other check-ins or questions before we continue with the net? This is N5BB. Thank you, Chaz. Well, the repeater seems to be hanging in there. Brenda. Oh, excuse me. Kelly isn't here. Tom, did you want to read Kelly's information? K5ICX and 5BB. This is about space exploration and space history.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do this. Kelly, K5KTX, is the recording night. She's at a conference tonight or dinner. So she asked me to go ahead and read this for you. So I'm going to do exactly that. So here we go. NASA will provide live coverage of pre-launch and launch activities for the agency's Boeing crew flight test, which will carry NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams to and from the International Space Station. Launch of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket and Boeing Starliner spacecraft is scheduled for 9:34 p.m. Central Daylight Time Monday, May 6th from Space Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. The flight test will carry Wilmore and Williams to the space station for about a week to test the Starliner spacecraft and subsystems before NASA certifies the transportation system for rotational mission to the orbiting laboratory for the agency's commercial crew program. Starliner would dock to the forward-facing port of the station's Harmony module at 12:46 a.m. Wednesday, May 8th. For the launch on Monday, coverage will begin on NASA TV and all their streaming options at 5:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. The crew will return to Earth with a parachute airbag-assisted landing in the southwestern United States. And we move on to space history. That was just the one piece we have from April 27th, 1961. The Explorer 11 launched as the first gamma-ray detecting satellite. Gamma radiation makes up the highest energy of the shortest wavelength portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Gamma rays are far outside the visible spectrum and are highly harmful to the human tissue. Explorer 11, by detecting gamma rays, gave us a new perspective of the universe, a perspective not achievable with the human eye. On April 27, 1972, the Apollo 16 command module, call sign Casper, touched down in the Pacific Ocean. On board were astronauts John Young, P.K. Mattingly, and Charlie Duke. A helicopter from the recovery ship USS Ticonderoga picked up crewmen. Also aboard Casper, 209 pounds of rocks and soil from the moon. On April 29, 1966, a 64-meter dish antenna dubbed Mars Station was dedicated at Goldstone, California as part of the Deep Space Network. A month prior to dedication, the Mars Station received its first signals from Mariner 4, the first spacecraft to closely observe Mars, leading to the dish antenna's moniker. Also known as Deep Space Station 14, or DSS-14, the largest disk built for the network to that date, measuring over 200 feet across. Later, two identical antennas were built, one for each of the DSN sites in Spain and Australia. In 1988, the Mars antenna, DSS-14, was upgraded to a 70 millimeter diameter to increase sensitivity needed to support the 1989 Voyager 2 flyby of Neptune. Since then, the modifications continue to prove useful in our exploration of the space solar system. DSS-14 remains in active use at Goldstone's Deep Space Communications Complex. On April 30th, 2015, the Messenger Mercury Surface Space Environment Geochemistry and Ranging mission came to an end when the probe impacted on the surface of Mercury in a planned collision. The impact marked the final act of the 11-year flight. Launched on August 3rd, 2004, the spacecraft traveled 4.9 billion miles, making 15 trips around the Sun and performing flybys of Earth once, Venus twice, and Mercury 3 times before settling into orbit around the planet. Messenger is the second space probe to visit Mercury and the only one to orbit the planet. Orbital operations began on March 17, 2011. During its 4 years in orbit around Mercury, Messenger's instruments yielded a trove of information, including characterization of Mercury's magnetic field, a representation of the planet's surface composition and geological history, and the discovery of polar deposits composed of water ice. On May 1st, 1949, Gerard Kuiper discovered Nereid. one of the largest and outermost of Neptune's known moons. In fact, Nereid is far enough from Jupiter that it takes 360 Earth days to complete a single orbit. Scientists believe the odd nature of Nereid's orbit suggests that the moon may have been captured, and it captured asteroid and been greatly disturbed during its capture of Triton, Neptune's largest moon. Kuiper suggests the name Nereid after the sea nymphs of Greek mythology, following suit with Neptune and satellites, the sea-based mythology namesake. Among Kuiper's numerous other achievements, he predicted the existence of donut-shaped region of minor planets and other icy objects outside the orbit of Neptune. This region, named the Kuiper Belt in his honor, is one of the main focuses of the New Horizons mission that launched. And now birthdays, astronaut birthdays. We have Ellen Schumann Baker, KB5SIX. She has a call sign as most of the astronauts, but not all. She was on STS-34, STS-50, and 71. John Crichton, STS-51G, 36 and 48. Jerome Apt, N5QWL, STS-37, 47, 59, and 79. Paul Lockhart, STS-111 and 113. Michael Smith, STS-51L Challenger. That would have been the ill-fated mission, I believe. Dwayne Carey, STS-109. These are all these are birthdays. April 30th, I should give you the dates, I suppose. April 30th, 1976. Victor Glover, KI-5BKC. He's SpaceX Crew 1 and Expedition 6465 on Artemis 2. May 1st, 1925. Scott Carpenter, Mercury Atlas 7. May 2nd, 57. Dominic L. Pudwill-Gorey, STS-91, 99, 108, and 123. May 2nd, 1975, Dorothy Metcalf Lindenberger, STS-131. May 3rd, 1949, Albert Satko, STS-73. And finally, May 4th, 1956, Michael Gerhardt, STS-69, 83, 94, 10, and 104. That's it, Bill. That's what I got for you. KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB Skynet. Over on Echolink, I see KJ5DWA asking what net this is. Richard, this is Skynet, SKYNET. This is a net sponsored by the Dallas Amateur Radio Club on the 146.88 repeater here in Dallas. It meets every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, and then it ends about 10:30 in roughly 10 minutes from now. And we talk about anything up in the sky away from Earth. We talk about astronomy, and we talk about space missions. So that's what this net is, Skynet. Okay, do we have any late check-ins? Richard, KJ5DWA, do you want to check in on voice? This is N5BB, Skynet.
Kilo Juliet 5 Delta Whiskey Alpha. Yeah, sure, I'll check in. The name's Richard up here in Paris, Texas.
Very good, Richard. KJ5DWA in Paris, Texas. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can come in here on any Saturday evening between 9 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. and listen to us. And you can do that on Echolink, and you can ask questions and things. We have one more person, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, do you want to check into Skynet on voice?
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Killer, Sean, Fort Worth. Thank you.
And I recognize KB9SOK. Very good. Do we have any other check-ins via any mode to Skynet? We're getting late in the net. This is N5BB. Chaz, because of the problems we had earlier, I think you even suggested that we drop Miss Carolyn's section. I think we will. But Brenda, WB50ZL, can you give us the news? I think you have some news items, and can you, let's see, can you discuss the recent astronomical discoveries in the news? WB50ZL and 5BB, Skynet.
Yeah, this is WB50ZL. I have an article here from Science Daily. It's entitled A Cosmic Glitch in Gravity. A group of researchers at the University of Waterloo and the University of British Columbia have discovered a potential cosmic glitch in the universe's gravity, explaining its strange behavior on a cosmic scale. For the last 100 years, physicists have relied on Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity to explain how gravity works throughout the universe. General relativity, proven accurate by countless tests and observations, suggests that gravity impacts not simply three physical dimensions, but a fourth dimension, time. This model of gravity has been essential for everything from theorizing the Big Bang to photographing black holes, said Robin Wynn, the lead author on the project and recent Waterloo mathematical physics graduate. But when we try well, my thing just glitched. All the text disappeared. I may have to give up this site. The problem is too many pop-ups. Hold on. My apologies. Oh, let's see here. I think we got it back. When we try to understand gravity on a cosmic scale, at the scale of galaxy clusters and beyond, we encounter apparent inconsistencies with the predictions of general relativity. It's almost as if gravity itself stops perfectly matching Einstein's theory. We are calling this inconsistency a cosmic glitch. Gravity becomes around 1% weaker when dealing with distances in the billions of light years. For more than 20 years, physicists and astronomers have been trying to create a mathematical model that explains the apparent inconsistencies of the theory of general relativity. Many of these efforts have taken place at Waterloo, which has a long history of cutting-edge gravitational research resulting from ongoing interdisciplinary collaboration between applied mathematics and astrophysicists. Almost a century ago, astronomers discovered that our universe is expanding, said Naish S40, professor of astrophysics at the University of Waterloo and researcher at the Perimeter Institute. The further away galaxies are, the faster they are moving, to the point that they seem to be moving at nearly the speed of light, the maximum allowed by Einstein's theory. Our findings suggest that on those very scales, Einstein's theory may also be insufficient. The research team's new model of a cosmic glitch modifies and extends Einstein's mathematical formulas in a way that resolves the inconsistency of some of the cosmological measurements without affecting existing successful uses of general relativity. Think of it as being like a footnote to Einstein's theory, Wynn said. Once you reach a cosmic scale, terms and conditions apply. This new model might just be the first clue in a cosmic puzzle we are starting.
Very good. Thank you, Brenda. Last chance. Any other check-ins or comments? This is N5BB, Skynet. In the roughly 2 minutes that is left, I'm just going to mention a few space launches coming up here on Monday, May the 6th. Falcon 9 is going to launch, SpaceX Falcon 9 is going to launch 23 Starlink satellites in low Earth orbit from Cape Canaveral. On May the 6th and 7th, so Monday or Tuesday, as Tom mentioned earlier, the Atlas V is going to launch the the CST-100 Starliner crew test flight. Currently designed for 10:34 p.m. Eastern Time on the 6th, which is 02:34
operational,
UTC
and all my
07,
circuits are functioning perfectly.
launching from Cape Canaveral. By the way, that's an Atlas V rocket. There's only something like 17 of them remaining. It's going to be replaced after they run out with the Vulcan Centaur, and it's going to replace the Atlas V. On May the 7th, there's Falcon 9 Starlink launch from Cape Canaveral with 23 satellites. So, a lot of things going on. Okay, last call. Anything else for the net before I close it? This is N5BB, Skynet. Very good. We made it through the repeater problems and started working again. So tonight we had 21 stations checked into the net. I want to thank all of you that checked in this evening, even though we had some technical difficulties with the repeater, probably due to the weather. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central Time to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're also always looking for net controls for all of our nets run by the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. If you have any interest, send an email to nets, that's NETS, at w5fc.org. You can follow topics about this on Facebook and X, as well as other things, and go to w5fc.org, and you'll find links to different things. Until next Saturday night, this is Bill, N5BB. I'm closing a net at 10:31 p.m. local time. Returning the repeater to use for Afterglow. Tom, you want to tell us about what's going to go on with Afterglow? This is N5BB. Good night.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Thank you for doing the net this evening. Warts and all with problems with whatever's going on. There is some weather out there tonight. This is a Skywarn used repeater, so if we do run into some problems, we may have to conclude the Afterglow movie net early. We'll just have to see. But we'll go as is normal. 5 minutes from now, we'll go ahead and get started with the movie Jupiter 2032. So come back then, about 5 minutes, and we'll get started. This is KE5ICS.
Thank you, Tom, and I want to thank everybody for sticking with us. The repeater just got incredibly insensitive for a few minutes there, but it came back, so I'm glad we stuck with it. Good night. Lots of lightning here in my area. N5BB clear.
Once again, may the 4th be with you. This is KF5JHA. Good night, everyone.
Yes, it is that infamous day, May the 4th. Hey, Chaz, how's Bob the cat? Does he like lightning and thunder? A lot of our animals don't like that at all.
As a cat, he likes to be inside when it's raining. The lightning and thunder doesn't seem to bother him, but he likes to be inside. He likes to be dry. KF5JHA.
Well, that's a regular cat behavior. You want to see a sad cat, look at a wet cat. Oh, they're in bad shape when they get wet. Good night. KF5JHA in the group, N5BB. Closing down because I did not watch the movie.
KJ5BB, KJ5CWS. Is any of that weather going to head up towards Paris tonight?
After it leaves the Metroplex, it's heading up toward Paris. Yep. I use an app on my phone called My Radar. It's free, and it's a great way of tracking the storms. This is KF5JHA.
I never trust my computer because one minute it tells me it's cloudy and the next minute it tells me it's supposed to rain. So I got the app, the My Radar app on one of my phones. I just need to figure out where I put it. KJ5CWS.
I think the bad stuff may not get to Paris until like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. But it should be headed your way after it comes through here. N5BB. Good night.
Okay, this is KE5ICX. I will be your net control for whatever happens to the net now, which is back to the moving ground. Tonight's movie is called Jupiter 2032. It is, well, kind of difficult to explain. Let me tell you a little bit about there's a director's statement here that explains a little bit about the movie, and then I'll give you the plot, such as it is. French filmmaker and published photographer. In 2018, she received a jury special mention at the Paris International Video Competition when sound creates images in partnership with CNC and the Institute of Francais for her short film Sound Travel, nominated for Best Film and Best Animated Film. Passionate by storytelling and existence holism, she is handing over her vision of the whole Jupiter 2032 in her first feature film by the same name. She says here, we started the adventure of Jupiter 2032 with one will in mind, to demonstrate the interconnection of all things. In a world where everything tends to be separated and divided, it was very important for us to tell a story about oneness, unity between human beings, and at a higher level, the unity within the cosmos itself, the unity that links all life. says also the idea of Jupiter 2032 was born from the NASA recordings and found planets. Many questions came out of those recordings. What if the human beings hear and receive those frequencies? How do they affect the individual? Could they have an impact on human consciousness? Is everything connected by those vibrations? We interviewed visionary minds to understand those frequencies and how Jupiter's phenomenon could be possible. Psychics, Tibetan Lama, sound engineers, quantum practitioners. It has been an incredible journey as we move forward and film all those people so passionate talking about the vibrations of Jupiter and beyond. We visited so many topics: magnetic fields, cosmic frequencies, non-physical realities, and our connection with the universe, Buddhism and ancient civilizations, DNA evolution, and collective consciousness. With Jupiter 2032, we're going on an adventure where the cosmos and life on Earth work together, where frequencies can have an impact on us and our consciousness. We're going in an adventure where everything is connected and where everything is one. Got a capital O for one. Now, the plot. This is KE5I6. In our very near future, run by one world of government and mass propaganda, children worldwide suddenly acquired the ability to connect to the planet Jupiter. As they develop extrasensory abilities, they learn how to master higher human potential while the planet Earth shifts into a new consciousness awakening. Yeah, it's that short. The movie's about an hour and 20 minutes long. It investigates, I don't know, a number of different people, probably about a dozen people through the interview process. It looks as though the names that are listed are near the names of the actual individual type. Probably some of the spelling is very complicated spelling, so I'm not entirely sure about that, but I think that's where a lot of that came from. At any rate, it is a documentary style, meaning that there are no actors per se. There's no central drama, dramatic. It's all done in the form of a documentary. So with that, I know it's short and sweet, but let's see if I can scare anybody up to talk about this film. So I'll go ahead and take check-in. If you'd like to join us this evening, tonight's movie is called Jupiter 2032 from 2022. Please come to your call sign, your name, Jupiter 2032.
This is WB50ZL. Name is Brenda. I'm in Dallas, and I did see this thing. This is November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia, in Fort Worth. Yes, I saw the movie.
Bravo 90, Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this movie.
Okay, we got WB50ZL Brenda, Dallas, yes, she saw it. NV5F, Virginia, Fort Worth, yes. KV9SOK, Sean, Fort Worth, yes. So we got the mini group, the core contingent. Anyone else want to join us? Please come with your call. You don't necessarily have to. Okay, I think it's going to be a small group tonight. We'll just hang through it as we can. You know what, I'm going to depart a little bit from the norm. I'm going to go ahead and give my description of the movie first, just to give you an impression. I don't know if this matters. You can have your own ideas about how you want to approach the film, but I was scratching my head trying to figure out how do I describe or understand this movie. And I think what it is it is like a documentary. It's a thought experiment. And that, when you're talking about religion or you're talking about connectedness or consciousness, there's an opportunity to describe what those things are. Now, I think in this particular film, because we're doing something that's fictional, that Jupiter is, say, talking to children, in this case, that they provide, that it loses something like the old telephone number, 555-1212. Would this have worked better as a dramatic film? Potentially, yes. I mean, they're trying to do a mockumentary of sorts, but I think if we had real characters, real people, actors working this out, we would see their actions and reactions. And while we do get that with people describing their experiences and their observations about what essentially has happened, it's one step removed because it is indeed a documentary. We have some of the intimacy, and some of that is genuine, I think. I think that when people are talking, I think they genuinely care, and that maybe not Jupiter 2032 so much as maybe our relationships with nature and with potentially the universe too. I mean, these are kind of existential, kind of difficult to mull over ideas, maybe border on philosophical. That's the outward part. There's the inward part in this too, which is having to do with children providing a paradigm shift. Essentially, they're the ones that are contacted, and they start talking, and then they start talking to human adults, telling them of their experiences, and as time goes on, over a short period of time, they shift, and that cooperation is so much better than not cooperation. Being in tune with each other and the universe as a whole is better. And there were a lot of different images that were displayed during these discussions to suggest that. Did it work? Yeah, not as well as maybe it could have. This topic has been discussed in science fiction for forever, and it always works to varying degrees of effectiveness. It depends on how honest you are and how descriptive or embracing you are of your audience and realizing the limitations of moving forward. A lot of that has to do with acting and writing and being able to make all of that look special. And to get the audience thinking. Did they do that? Not as well or as effectively as they could have. I think it was an interesting idea. I think it probably could have been done a little better as a dramatic, strictly a dramatic license, but again, that's been done many times before. It did win some awards because of this, so I guess to each his own. I think it bears repeat visits, but I don't know, at an hour and 20 minutes, very long commentary. Documentaries, much like any other documentary, does best in smaller doses. 1 hour tops is usually good. And multi-parts is fine, but when you start going on, it turns into a lecture and less of a discovery. Okay, that's my comment on the plot, such as it is, or actually the movie in general. We'll go ahead and go down the list. We talked about plot, characterization, although it really won't be special effects. I don't know. It may go one round. It might go two. We'll just have to see. So Brenda, WB50ZL, you're first on the list. What did you think about the film? What were your reactions? How would you think they might do it better, or was it fine when you watched it? What did you get out of it from AE5I6?
This is WB50ZL. I've never seen this before, and I had never heard of it. And, this thing is really hard to categorize. Most movies are some kind of a type, coming of age, super fools, that kind of thing. This one defies description. it was hard to figure out what the thing was about. And some supposed documentary where some children, not all, are hearing Jupiter, and then they psychically jump to Jupiter. What's the purpose of that? And then they all start becoming more involved human beings. And I'm just, okay, who did this and why? And where's it going to go? But these evolved human beings decide they're not going to serve in the military, even though it's a one-world government. Shouldn't need a military if it's just one government. There's a lot of things that just didn't seem too well thought out. I will say what I did enjoy is all that stock footage of CGI planets and stars and things. That was really pretty and kind of fun to watch. But the movie was just kind of simple-minded. They went around and talked to witnesses. They said, yeah, we started hearing Jupiter, and then we leaped over there, and we're all better people now. And I just, if I were rich and you tried to sell me on that premise, I don't think I would fund it. I just don't think there's enough meat on that bone. And I just wonder why anybody would want to write it or want to be involved in this movie. It just didn't say anything, didn't make any sense, didn't inspire me, and I understood the words they said, but I didn't understand the whole concepts. So it was kind of unsatisfying. Back to that, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Well, here's what I'm going to do. There's 3 reviews on here. I'm going to read the reviews so that we can fill this out a little bit, because I know this is a tough one to discuss. But some of the comments are interesting. Here's one. Docudrama so made up, couldn't make it past 30 minutes. I couldn't make it past 30 minutes, tried, but just didn't want to waste another minute on this. It was like watching a documentary about something that isn't real or true. Why would anybody want to do that? Documentary is about being educated about a topic and expanding your horizons. This is just someone's made-up idea of a cheap movie with a bunch of made-up interviews. Seriously, WTF, why? Would anyone waste their time watching this or even creating this drivel? There were only 7 other ratings, hence the high 7.5 out of 10 rating. I'm guessing more people actually watched and rated. This is in capital letters. This docudrama movie, the odds would drop significantly. If you're into this kind of thing, go for it and join the other 7 people that actually sat through this. Otherwise, move on. That was one that was a 4 out of 10 stars. I think that's actually pretty generous from this individual. Okay, next up is Virginia. Virginia, NV5F. What did you think about our film, Jupiter 2032?
Thank you, Tom. I was real excited to hear the name Jupiter in the title. We had a Jupiter-oriented film last week, and I tend to like seeing Jupiter in the... I would say this was more of a premise than a plot. It didn't, like Brenda was saying, there's not really... It's almost like they had, like, someone who doesn't know much about interplanetary, radiation, RF emissions, who has sort of maybe a new age ideal, system of ideals, heard the recordings of Jupiter on the radio. It's basically RF, whatever a radio, picks up as RF from Jupiter, that's the translation into sound that the radio makes. It's not like Jupiter is purposely making whistling sounds. It's just what the RF is, it gets crunched through the radio, and that's what it comes out sounding like. But, I'm guessing someone heard that sound and was just captivated by it, I remember when I was a kid, the first time I realized that a prism with sunlight shining through it makes a rainbow, I was completely floored. So maybe they thought, it really didn't have a plot. It just had this premise that went on and on and on, and it could have been described in about 5 minutes, which the only narration is in the beginning, and it's just someone reading a title card or a series of title cards that have the words on them, and it describes the kind of plot that sets up why there's a quote-unquote documentary being made about this subject. But even a good documentary kind of has a plot. You put stuff in order so that you're telling a story and that you're coming to some kind of real conclusion. Whether people believe your conclusion or not, there's all kinds of phenomena that people have made documentaries about, paranormal activity or the mysterious low-frequency hum that a lot of people seem to hear, or there's all kinds of weird phenomena that people make documentaries out of that are real, that are real documentaries, and they have some kind of if they're good, they're going to have some kind of a plot thread through them. This did not seem to. Now, I will admit, I didn't pay very close attention once I realized I was going to have to read like a third of the movie because they have all these people speaking Espanol, and I'm sitting on a Friday night, and I don't want to be leaning, I'm trying to relax, and I don't want to be leaning into my monitor, trying to read everything at the bottom of the screen, so I'll admit I didn't read any of that stuff, and maybe that would have made it more interesting, but I wasn't interested enough to read it, so it didn't really grab my attention. There was a lot of music and pre-information planets that didn't seem to really necessarily illustrate anything. There wasn't any illustrative animation. It was all just real pretty, very compelling, visually. But I just didn't really think it really even had a plot. I didn't see a through line really talking about, these kids started hearing Jupiter in 2023, and now we're here in 2032, and here's what happened. Here's a story that here's where we are in 2032, and here's what's happened in the last 9 years or whatever. So I didn't really find that there was enough of a plot to even speak of. It didn't even work as if it had been a real documentary, I would have gotten bored with it, because this style of documentary is very modern, where they have no narration or anybody, any kind of a framing device with a narration or an announcer talking, a host, quote unquote. They just show footage with names on the bottom third and piece it together. I mean, that's a really modern, almost like cheap-outy way of making a documentary, and this was done in that style. And I don't really, if you're going to use that style, you better have a lot of good stuff that keeps people interested without any external exposition, because I just didn't find that worked for this. I would have liked to have seen this as an actual, like, sci-fi kind of movie. It could have been interesting and even uplifting. So much of the sci-fi these days is, kind of a drag. So if they had actually taken the idea and made like a real sort of story out of it, I think it would have held my attention longer. Back to net.
Yeah, thank you, Virginia. I have a tendency to agree with you, and I think that as a dramatic, more of a dramatic, traditional film process probably would have been better. Here's something. Here's another one. This is from Dopey Dinosaurs. It's the most bored I've ever forced myself to be. I tried watching this movie about a year ago and got about 15 minutes into it before I began fast-forwarding big chunks to see if it actually went anywhere. On a whim, I decided to check its reviews today, and here I am, with only one other review on record, I decided to give this movie another chance and committed myself to viewing it entirely before writing this. That being said, I commend myself for my patience. Is this art? Is it actually good? I cannot say. If it is good, I am not smart enough to realize it. The only thing that I did find believable and interesting were the fake interviews themselves. Each person's performance was realistic in a documentary fashion. No one seemed like they were reciting lines or nervous or insecure or anything. The only problem is everything they were talking about was complete hogwash, and the Jupiter thing only carried the movie for so far, at which point they begin rambling on a tangent that I could not care any less about. You know those little plastic tabs that connect brand new socks when you buy them? Well, I had a dozen packages of socks that I was dreading cutting all these little things off of. This movie was the perfect opportunity to multitask and get the necessary but unwanted task over with. The only problem is I also keep raising my head to the screen to read the subtitles. The fact the entire movie wasn't spoken in English added to its false realism. The visuals, apart from the interviews, cannot be faulted due to the movie's very likely low budget. But even from the beginning, the lack of smoothness in the frames of animation were warning that this was what was to come. The documentary itself, assuming it is true in this universe, would very likely never have been told like this. Notice had side effects of smaller budget and limited resources. There would be more flash and drama and fake footage of things that were only spoken about by the characters interviewed within. I must admit the premise had me cautious, curious at first, but like I said, before it only took minutes to realize I was duped before jumping ship last time. So kudos for the attempt, but sadly the most entertaining part of the movie was watching it and realizing how not entertained I was, and eventually, and it was over. Phew. And that one got a review of 2 out of 10, so no doubt I kind of don't disagree there. Okay, next up, Sean. Sean, you're going to have to pull this one out of the nosedive. KB9SOK. What did you think about, I don't know, the plot, movie in general? Jupiter 2032 from KE5ICX.
This is KB9SOK. Well, you picked the wrong person to pull it out of the nosedive. Pretty much that first online review was kind of with the direction I was going to go with it. Yeah, this thing was insanely boring. To be honest, had it not been for speaking with you all last night on the back channel, and I probably might be the first time that I would have shut off the movie. But I stuck through it to stick with the group and to watch your entertaining text come through, because this thing was painful. I agree with what everybody said. This should have been a drama of some type. It should have been an actual action, because doing it in document style was just so boring. And that was my exact thoughts was, you know, hey, a good documentary is entertaining because you do learn something, and you're interested in it, and it keeps you interested. But even with good documentaries, there's usually a storyline, as Virginia said, and this one did it. We spent literally the first hour of the movie just talking about these kids having this outer body experience to Jupiter, and then all the they were flying around, but what were they really seeing? You know, it's like the graphics might have been somewhat cute to some people, but they didn't really add to the story to help you see what the kids were seeing. So then after that, we spent 20 minutes hearing about the government, the single government that runs the world at this time, apparently, trying to use the vibrations of the universe to make people think what they wanted to think. They really didn't go into explanations how they figured out to do that, but, you know, so then, you know, they ended it in the last 10 minutes, basically telling you how Jupiter is giving everybody hope to break away from violence and what have you, but, yeah, it's just the style. It was just too painful. I didn't find a lot positive out of this one, unfortunately. I would say whoever gave out the awards should not be allowed to give out any awards anymore, because this was just horrific. I would actually place this one worse than The Creeping Terror. It was painful. I would give it a 1 out of 10, just because they made it, I guess. You got to give it a 1. But I don't know. Yeah, you know, I have to give you a lot of credit, Tom. You might want to watch this again, as you mentioned in the beginning, because I don't think I could. You know, like I said, I really think I'd been with a lot of the reviewers and probably not finished it. It's just, you know, I enjoyed hanging out with the group. That's one reason I followed this one through. It's a tough one. So yeah, if you're listening, Tony, don't watch this one. Anyway, KB9S, okay. Back.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Yeah, I think we're kind of all in agreement at this point. I was thinking about this, and I guess I'll do both ends of this thing, but, you know, I was watching today a it was sort of a documentary. It's part of a series actually on Create, and the guy does travel logs, but this one was strictly talking about history of Greek art, basically, and Greek society and that, and it was really very interesting in talking about the different styles of art and how it evolved over time, the four basic styles of architecture, for example, in art, and how it grew in complexity and why and all of that. And I'm thinking, this is really interesting because these are people that really existed. The art is real. And magnificent, by the way, there's no doubt about it, and the evolution is plainly there, and we can see how they improved. Now, there is a bit of an unknown there. We don't know how that evolution took place. There was some discussion of, you could tell within 1 decade, which each artwork piece could be done because of the style as it evolved over time. They didn't explain exactly why. They said some of the details. So that's left to the you know, mystery. And then they had a beautiful piece of art of a large statue of either Zeus or oh hell, that's terrible. I can't remember what it was. At any rate, he didn't know who it was because we didn't know if he had a thunderbolt or a trident in his hand. So, which was kind of interesting too. But it was interesting because it was real, and it had an opportunity to tell you something. Now, compare that with something like I don't know, watch a historical drama. A lot of people like Game of Thrones, and that's fine, and I'm happy that people do. But I find it very difficult to watch because, to me, history is so much more interesting, and there's no introduction of, like, magic or dragons or any of the things that don't actually exist. Now, we have a tendency to watch fantasy and science fiction, but some of that is based on some of the realities that we do know in the world and extrapolate beyond. This one would be looking back, and to me, it doesn't seem authentic enough. Certainly the characters and how they act and react were somewhat believable, but the whole situation, there were much more interesting characters of real life that could do that. So in watching this, knowing that it lacks drama, it lacks any sort of historical relevance or pertinence, it makes you wonder, you know, what am I in for? What am I going to get out of this thing if everything's a hypothetical? Well, the only thing you do is look at what's going on the inside and the philosophical. But if you're doing that, you still have to have a common frame of reference. And I'm not so sure that Jupiter and talking to children and adults and all of that is that frame of reference, because there's no way to add any sort of tangible, emotional gravitas to what's going on. And I think that's where this movie massively misses the mark. I'm thinking that while the interviews, and it was mentioned in some of the reviews here that I was reading from the folks that first impressions on the movie, is that the people who are interviewed, and I put that in air quotes, seem very adamant about what they're talking about, and they should, because I think they really are the people that they claim they are, maybe not by those names, philosophers, psychiatrists, psychologists, writers, poets, all these different people, but they're disarmed almost immediately because it's not a real thing. we're not talking about how that it could impact. Now, if you're going to impact, say, the emotional and the evolutionary process of Western civilization through Greek mythology and Greek storytelling and Greek life, like what I kind of was exposed to this morning, then you got something there, and it becomes interesting, and it becomes better. But if the hypothetical is on top of a hypothetical, it loses something. It's like hearsay. I'm not really getting anything that's tangible because I have nothing tangible to start with. And I think that's part of the problem with this thing. I think it was an interesting idea. It would have been better. This film might have made it and be significant if, say, we discovered life on Jupiter or we discovered intelligent life in the universe. Then this film may be a little more pertinent in some way, shape, or form. But that hasn't happened yet. We have no tangible there. Let me go ahead and ask if anyone else would like to join us this evening. If you'd like to talk about this film or metaphysical, philosophical, anything, you can come now with your call sign.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, W5BLT, Bill.
All right, we've got W5BLT, Bill. I'll be back to you in just a second. Was there somebody else trying to check in? Please come now. Anyway, from KE5ICX.
Well, thanks, Tom. You know, I got 15 minutes into it before I just gave up in disgust. You know, I just got over cellulitis, ear infection, and I've been tuning in the last couple of weeks, but just haven't been on. So this was kind of, I was looking forward to this movie. And I have to say, if I took cellulitis and my wisdom teeth being extracted and pulling muscles in my hip, and then, let's see, what else have I gone through? Gallbladder surgery. If I added up all of those things together, it still wouldn't equal the pain that I experienced in this movie. I haven't seen, I think you said, Sean said The Creeping Terror. I'm going to have to look that up. This was the worst thing I've ever come across. And then I did a Google search because I was trying to find reviews. You know, it's always bad when you have to really dig for reviews. And I came across something in the cast, and it when I did a Google search, it says the cast on Jupiter 2032, and so it was interesting because it goes over the background of all these people and you know, psychics and things like that, and their backgrounds on what they've done. And so once I read that, it kind of explained why the movie was done the way it was done, and I won't go into all the details in their backgrounds, but it was just kind of interesting because then I go, aha. But it kind of reminded me of some of the students I knew in college that were into this astro projecting and trying to go visit worlds in their mind and different vibrations, and I'll be honest with you, as they appeared to get more into this stuff, it became more messed up. And so that's what I was, it just kind of reminded me of that. So I didn't care about the characters, I didn't care about the film, and obviously, you know, being blind, couldn't see the special effects. So yeah, it was just an interesting thing. I started in, you know, at first I thought it was going to be really good because it reminded me of the PBS documentaries that I watched when I was a kid, but it just went nowhere very fast. And I kept wishing the Sandmen from Logan's Run would make an appearance and end it all. Anyway, that's what I got. Sorry. It was quite something to behold. W5BLT. Back to you, Tom.
Yeah, how do you deal with this? You know, I was thinking maybe you put some context around it a little bit, but you know, I always liked the movie This Is Spinal Tap, which was a rockumentary or a mockumentary of sorts, but it had something to say because we had something we knew and understood. We knew rock bands were a bit odd, and the members were odd. We also know that pop culture is fickle and crazy, and we had these reference points, and then knowing that movie, when it was done, was improvised. A great deal of that movie was improvised, and it was still brilliant. It seemed to work really well. And if you've not seen This Is Spinal Tap, you've got to watch it sometime. It is one of the most funniest films you've ever seen. A non-film film. It is really great. So you can connect both on a thing, you know, but this goes to 11. Of course we understand, but why not make it 10? But this goes to 11. It makes perfect sense to Nigel. So, you know, and we get that, and there's a number of other ones like that. 2, and the film works. This is so removed. I don't know, maybe if you were a philosophy major or you, I don't know, did transcendental meditation, you might find something of value out of this, because I think it's reverse engineered stuff like that that's been repackaged as Jupiter. I don't know, but again, it always goes back to the same thing. I don't see the tangible relevance enough to really be attracted to this movie. I'm hoping, and I don't know if I ever will, I've got plenty of time, I'm retired now, so I can go back and watch the film and re-listen the dialogue, I guess, and see if I can pull some nuggets out. Some films are like that. There have been several films that I've watched that I hated when the first time around, and then I started to like them the second, and I actually started to love them. I don't think this is one of those films, but Blade Runner was one of those films. I originally watched it, and I was slightly intrigued, and then I hated it. I did see the Warner Brothers dabbled version with the voiceovers. That's how I saw the movie originally, and have since seen the director's cuts, which are much better, and realized this is really a good film. And I watch it 100 times. I've seen that movie, and I still get stuff out of it. But it's because of the sensibility, the depth, the understanding, characterization, the understanding that, you know, it's a bit, you know, it's dystopian, and one of the first to do that. But it's done in an effective human way, and you can relate to the characters and what they're going through. So I don't know. This so much removed, I don't think it has much redeeming qualities to it. Maybe in dialogue, but you're going to have to sit through it to find that out. There's a film out there I've mentioned several times on this net called My Dinner with Andre, which I hated when I saw it in 1980. I've since rewatched it, I think, here about 5 years ago. And I like that film now because of the relevance, but it's essentially all conversation. The entire film is conversation in a restaurant with two guys talking about what's going on. That's it. That's all the movie is. And it has to do with his extraordinary experiences, at least to him. And you have to ask yourself whether they're real or not. It didn't matter. You believed him. You believed in what he was talking about because he believed in it. Did we get that here? Not so much. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to save you all a lot of grief. And if you've got a comment, just come with your call, and I'll go down the list. I don't think this one's going to go very far, but you never know. Anything you want to talk about, please come with your call.
NB5F.
WP50ZL.
Okay, That's good. There's so few of us here. I feel like just have a discussion right now. We're way down on the count this week, probably because of this fine film. But Virginia, go ahead. NV5F from KE5ICX.
It was boring and typical of that style and very repetitive. I think they might have maybe had 3 different tracks composed and used them over and over again. Let's see. I liked what you said about This Is Spinal Tap. That movie is great. It's hilarious. There's a lot of other mockumentaries like Best in Show and some other ones out there. And yeah, you've got this. Even if it's not something you've ever experienced firsthand, you've got this point of reference. The other thing is those were satires. They were trying to be funny by basically straight-faced making fun of something that's, pretty laughable. And this film, in addition to not having that point of reference, any commonality, it's a very esoteric thing, astral projecting and vibrations and, and people, describing their version of things that no one really knows that much about. There was that, but then this took itself completely seriously, and that's the other problem. Is it wasn't trying to what its subject matter was. It was trying to get a point across, serious with a fake documentary, where usually those kind of points are much made through some kind of an allegory, some kind of a fictionalized, this cosmic content. Too esoteric and too obvious. But the comedy documentaries do a much more excellent job with something like that. There were moments in this that I found laughable, mostly because they were just people talking about stuff they didn't know anything about. Like there was one part where a lady was trying to describe the nature of electricity, like from kind of a scientific sort of physics point of view, and she just didn't have a clue what she was talking about. I thought that was funny. And then the one lady who I guess didn't want to be openly associated with this topic, and so she did her entire interview kind of 3/4 from behind, and she had all this hair, and I think everyone began calling her Cousin It, and that was pretty silly. So there were definitely things that were unintentionally funny in this. Everybody delivered their performances very, very straight, as in, natural. I mean, the actors, I don't know what they did. They must have just said, hey, look, we got this, just imagine that this is happening to you, and now talk extemporaneously about it. We're going to interview you, So, interesting idea, but yeah, there was no commonality, and there was no point being made that people could relate to, and there was no humor. This took itself 100% seriously. That's it for me. NV5F.
Okie dokie. Brenda, WV50ZL, your thoughts?
This is WV50ZL. And we're talking about the silly science. They talked about Jupiter having ground, which is so basically wrong. These people obviously, are not scientific people, but I don't think they're pretending to be. I think that they really didn't have a good idea what they wanted to do with this. Or what was the whole point of it? It's like, the human race is so bad, and I hate those kind of movies where they just bash human beings. And I think it's a little unfair. We're just animals, just in many ways just dumb animals. We act on hormones and instinct and self-interest, and you wouldn't judge dogs or dolphins that way. You'd see them for what they are, and I think people should see us for what we are. Some of us are good, some of us are bad, and most of us is a little good and a little bad, or a lot of each. I'm just tired of movies that bash humans. It's like, oh, it's just greed. Well, that's what evolved us. Greed is a big part of how we got to where we are. And I think if we ever encounter sentient life from other planets, that we're going to see that they're like we are, survival. The one that evolved is the one that beat the others out to the sunny spot, or to the food, or to the water. And, life is all about perpetuating yourself and surviving and, having enough to eat. That's not necessarily greed, that's just survival. But these traits are often portrayed as being bad. It's what makes people bad. And, I think that's a little unfair. It just is. It's like talking about forces of nature. Are tornadoes bad? Well, yeah, but it's just a force of nature. It's not, any particular reason for it to tear up the landscape. It just is. And, I think these people have this fantasy of, if only humans could be nicer people, so let's send them vibrations from Jupiter, and that's going to save the human race. It could have been just as plausible to say, well, let's send everybody an angel to talk to them and make them straighten out. It's a fantasy, and not a really good one or well thought out one. It's like we're all bad, but we got to save ourselves. And I just get tired of hearing that. All right, back to that WB50ZL.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments they want to bring? Let's come in. Okay, I didn't hear anything. Okay, let me go to the list over here on the Afterglow Movie Net guide. Yeah, I tell you, I'm 3 weeks into this hacking routine. I hope to get over this soon. It's getting very aggravating. I checked, and it has been 3 weeks. So, next week's movie is more a traditional movie. In fact, there's a sequel coming out this summer to this film, like there's always a sequel. This one is called The Quiet Hour. I don't have a date on it. I forgot to put the actual year it came out, but I would say it's about years ago or thereabouts. This one is the one that is after the fact. And it has occurred this prequel film that's coming out here soon. Actually involves the invasion, so should be interesting. That will be our movie for next week, The Quiet Hour, for May 11th. 2024. Okay, that's it, folks. That's all I got for now. Also, if you want to look at some of the other movies on tap, I think we've got some lighter fares coming up. From Earth to the Moon from 1958. It Came from Somewhere from 2023. And Moon Crash from 2022. I think these would be more fun. These are comedies. And From the Earth to the Moon may be an unintentional comedy. But this is a version that I have never seen before from 1958 in color. All right, see y'all. You get to go to bed early or watch TV. Go watch The Night Stalker. It's on right now. KE5IC. See ya.
See ya, KC5SWS.
Oh, how was Star Wars Day at the museum?
It was very busy.
You realize I wouldn't get within 100 miles of that place, and I think I was successful today.
Yeah, I'm about to pull at the parking garage. I just wanted to say hello real quick, and I was listening to you guys on the way home. So we'll say 73s. We'll see you around at the museum soon. KC5SWS.
All right, bye-bye, bye-bye, see ya. KE5IC.